Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm good. How are
I'm doing
you?
well. I am Vancie. And your name?
My name is Karen.
Karen? Okay,
Yes.
nice to meet you, Karen. Last name Karen?
Arosa?
Arosa? Okay, all right. Okay, so before we get started with this session, there's a couple of things I do need to kind of discuss with you and just kind of make you aware of before we actually kind of start talking about what brings you here today. So confidentiality. So I'll start there. Anything that you mention in these sessions are confidential, with the exception of if you have ideas of hurting yourself or others, or if there are conversations that you're having with me about abusing children or elderly people. Those things are not confidential, and I do have a duty to act as far as recording that outside of this session. Just want to make sure you understand that and see if you have any questions.
I understand.
Okay,
No
all right.
questions.
At this point in time, do you have any feelings of hurting yourself or others?
No.
Okay, all right. So, Karen, what brings you here today?
I am here because I have just been really dealing with I've just been having a lot of issues with my everyday life.
Okay, all right.
And I feel like it's hard for me to accomplish and do the things that I want to because I feel like I overthink them.
Okay. So, what makes you think that you're overthinking them, and what are some of those things that you're overthinking?
So, for example, I believe I'm overthinking everything, especially like when it comes to my children. I overthink a lot about just their safety in general. If they're okay, whenever they're away from me, it's hard for me to focus on what I'm doing because I'm just always thinking about them. And if something has happened to them, if they got hit by a car, if they broke their leg at football, if they ran away, I just always am having these worrying thoughts about my children, and I can't do anything else, it seems like. That's the point it's gotten to.
When did it start?
I would say it probably started maybe when I was about in my 20s. I've always kind of had anxiety and worry. I just feel like it's gotten worse over time. And my anxiety I feel like it's gotten worse, which is making me like do these things that I can't control.
Okay, so you said that happened in your 20s. How old are you now?
I am in my 40s.
40s, okay. Can you give me an exact number in your 40s?
Yeah, I am 47.
47, okay. So it's been going on about 27 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it's been as bad the entire 27 years, though. It really got bad when I had my children.
Okay.
I feel like I had anxiety before that, but after having my children, it just got so much worse.
Okay.
And now that's become one of the main things that I just cannot get off my mind.
Okay, all right. So one thing I do want to kind of mention, you may see me taking notes, so hopefully it's not a distraction. I just want to make sure I understand, everything that you're telling me and that I don't forget. So at what age did you have your first child?
I would say that I was 35.
35, okay.
And maybe it stems from me having them a little later on.
Okay.
I know when I was pregnant with them, I had to do a lot of extra tests and stuff because of my, age and being pregnant. I guess I'm a higher risk pregnancy. So I feel like that's maybe when some of this like worry and anxiety started, because the doctors were already like worrying and telling me, oh, these things could possibly happen because you're older, this could possibly happen. So now I find myself worrying about my children in the same way.
Okay, and how many kids do you have?
I have two.
What are their ages and names, if you don't mind?
One is 6 and one is 9.
Okay.
One is Alan and one is Katie.
Katie? Okay, who's 6? Alan or Katie?
Alan is a 6-year-old.
Okay.
And
Katie is 9.
And Katie is 9.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you said, so just let me paraphrase, make sure I understand. So you started having some of these anxiety moments when you were in your early 20s, and then once you had your kids, would you say that they intensified? I think I heard you say that.
They definitely intensified. I would even say that I've had anxiety all the way back to when I was a child.
Okay.
It's just that when I was in my 20s is the first time I received help for, like the first time I went to a doctor and was put on medication for anxiety. But over time, especially after having my children, it seems like the medication was not really working. It wasn't really doing anything because I'm still extremely anxious all the time, worrying about them.
Okay. So let's go back to your childhood. You said that's when you start first feeling anxiety. What did that feel like? And what was present in the moment in which it was happening?
So I would just say that my parents are really strict. Let me start off by saying that. I am an only child, and both of my parents are doctors. So they have always been really hard on me about my schoolwork and my grades, and I feel like I always used to tell them because I'm the only kid, they just really put all their focus on me, and sometimes it got to the point that it was almost like they were nitpicking because I didn't really think they had any other children to look at, so they were just always telling me what I was doing that was right and wrong. And it seems like that kind of, especially them always looking over my shoulder and my back about my schoolwork, I started to worry about my own schoolwork. And, you know, I've always gotten pretty good grades. I've been mostly a straight A student, but the few times that I've gotten a B, it's been really detrimental for me, because I wasn't allowed to get Bs when I was a child. So the couple times that I wouldn't want to go home. I would sometimes, you know, and this was maybe, I would be like 12 years old. I remember specifically one time I used the restroom on myself because I was that fearful of just going back home and having to tell my parents that I had gotten a B. And I remember the next semester I quit playing volleyball. I quit all my sports because I just wanted to focus on getting straight A's again because I needed to get back to straight A's and I needed to be there.
Okay, I want to ask a question regarding that because you said detrimental. Did your parents abuse you whenever you got, you know, bad grades, or did they abuse you in general for
No,
making you feel that way?
They would not abuse me. If anything, I would say it could have been just the things that they said to me.
Okay.
They made me feel like I was, you know, less than, and you know, they would always tell me like, this is the family you come from, and you know, you can't disappoint us. And you know, them both being doctors, I know that they wanted me to be very successful and be a doctor too. So it was just knowing that I let them down and having to, I guess, deal with feeling like a failure is what I would say. So
let me ask some questions, and these may be some uncomfortable questions, but I think if we talk about these things, maybe that can help with the treatment overall. So you mentioned no abuse. So are you saying there's no abuse physically?
Yeah,
Okay.
I in our culture, the way that your parents talk to you is not really abusive because it's seen as they just know what's best for you. So I was always like told that by other family members and stuff when I would try to disclose how I was feeling or, you know, being sad or upset. They would tell me that my parents are just trying to push me, basically. They just want me to get to be the best. That's why they were hard on me.
Okay, all right. And you mentioned that they make you feel less than, um, because you may have made bad grades. Am I capturing that correctly? That made you feel less than. Okay, all right.
There would just be a lot of comments about, like I said, me disappointing the family and embarrassing them, and so I just felt like I had a lot of weight on my shoulders, kind of similar to how I'm feeling now with my own kids and my own husband. I just feel like I have a lot of weight on my shoulders, and it causes me a lot of worry because I feel like I have all these things I have to do and all these obligations and all these needs that for other people that I need to meet. Just I, I don't know. I just worry about everything.
Okay. So I heard you say that it feels as if you have the weight on your shoulder. Talk to me more about that. What does that entail? What does that feel
So
like?
when in terms of especially my relationship, well, just in life in general, my husband just recently, was put on full disability.
Okay.
So he is not able to work, he's not able to provide. And I have now taken on all of that on top of, raising our family as well. And it was not always like this. So it's been really hard for me to adjust. Even, like I was saying earlier, after the kids, it was hard, but it just got even harder when he lost his job and when he was put on disability, because now I have all that weight on my shoulders too. And the kids don't act right either. It's always something with them. They're getting in trouble at school. I just really feel like everything is on me to figure it out. And sometimes I can't. I don't feel like I can control it all. I don't feel like I can do it all.
Okay. So when did this start? When you say you feel like everything is on you, did this start at the point that your husband went on disability?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, I would say when he went on disability, because now I have to, split the time that I would be a mom with, splitting the time of me working and doing everything else. So it became too much because now I feel like I'm doing 2 full-time jobs, being a full-time mom to 2 young, a 6 and a 9-year-old. And at that age, they don't always listen, they don't always do the right thing. So that's a lot in itself. And now I'm a full-time provider because his disability just isn't able to cover the things as they, our bills and stuff.
Okay. How was life prior to him going on disability? How was the relationship between your husband and even your children?
Before he was put on disability, I don't think I had the same stress that I have now. And I also don't know if my stress is normal, because I know some people stress out and they don't do the same things that I do. When I am really stressed, it's like I do the same behaviors over and over again, and I can't get myself to stop, because there's a thought in my head that'll tell me, if you don't do this, this is gonna happen. And so then I feel like I need to do something, even though I may have already done it, or it just doesn't. It might not make sense. Like, for example, something might tell me, if you don't flip the light switch 4 times, Katie's gonna fall down the stairs. And now I feel like, oh gosh, I have to get up and flip the light switch 4 times because I don't want Katie to fall down the stairs. And sometimes I'll get up and do it, and I will still have the thought again. So I flip the light switch 4 more times, and I might still have the thought. They just don't go away sometimes. They don't go away.
Okay. So you mentioned when stressed, you do the same behavior. You mentioned about the light switch. Are you doing anything else? Or what other things are you doing?
So I would say another thing that I've definitely, or even, my husband, he's come to the grocery store with me sometimes, and he thinks that it's pretty odd behavior for me to do some of the things that I do. For example, I might pick up a bag of apples, then something in my head will tell me, you picked the wrong apples, Alan's gonna get run over by a car. So then I'll have to dump out all the apples that I picked and pick 5 different apples. And my husband will ask, why'd you put the apples back? And I'm almost embarrassed to tell him, that, just something in my head told me if I didn't do it, then something would happen to the kids. But that really is what happens. We can be, there was also an instance when we were on the cereal aisle, and I have this thing where I can't take the first box of cereal. I can't take the first of anything on the shelf because something's going to happen to my oldest child. Okay. And that thought has been reoccurring in my head, I would say, for at least 2 to 3 years now, that if I take the first of anything on the grocery shelf, something is going to happen to my oldest child. So even if there's only one thing left, I will go and ask the store, like, look, do you have any in the back? I just really can't take that one that's on the shelf because something's going to happen to my child.
Okay. So with your children, and you mentioned that it seemed like it started, as far as being concerned about their safety, it seemed as if it started when they were about 2-3 years ago, and I think you mentioned that your kids are 6 and 9. Okay. So Alan 2 to 3 years ago was 3 years old, and of course Katie was 9 years old. Can you talk to me about what potentially happened 2 to 3 years ago for you to start having these thoughts?
I feel like it was really when Alan wasn't in the house anymore. And with Katie, the transition wasn't hard. I think this may have also been because I didn't really have all that stress from my husband being on not working anymore. But with Alan, he was 3, so he was still at home. He would just go to daycare, But then once both of them were out of the house, I feel like that really did something to my mind, because I was not able to see or talk to either of them throughout the day, and I really did not know if they were safe. I really just have to entrust that they're okay at school while they're away from me.
Okay. So out of the house, talk to me about what that really means. When you say that, because you mentioned that Alan is not in the house anymore. So what does that really mean? And Kate is not in the house anymore.
So when I think of our house, I think of that as the safe place. It's the one, especially when I'm there, because my husband is also always there, I can count on my kids being safe in my house. When I can see them, when I can watch them, when I can be around them. When they're not in the house, I can't do those same things. I don't have the control to keep them safe, to know how they're doing, to make sure they don't fall off of something or choke, anything like that. I can control those things in the house. But it's when we get out of the house, or when they're at school, when they're away from me, that I feel like I am just out of control.
And when you say out of control, talk to me more about that.
So sometimes the thoughts that I have it makes me think that if I do certain behaviors, I can be more in control. So like with my son, like I was telling you earlier, if I put all these apples back, I can control the fact that Alan is not going to get hurt. Or if I don't take this first box of cereal, I can control the fact that Katie's not going to get hit by a car. But it's that I still have these thoughts, even, I just have them all the time. And I don't think it's normal, because I don't see other people in the grocery store doing the same repeated behaviors. I know the people at the grocery store have to see me and probably think like, why does she keep picking up the apples and putting them back? And I know I can't function like this. I can't go to the grocery store like how some people just do a quick trip and run in and run out and grab a few things. The grocery store for me is always like an hour and a half, a lot of do this or this is gonna happen, and I don't know, maybe it's because at the grocery store there's a lot going on and it just maybe brings me anxiety, I don't know.
You shared a lot, so thank you so much. So let me ask a couple of questions. what's your goal for this session? And before I even ask that question, so let me just ask, did you come on your own or were you referred by someone?
So I came on my own.
Okay.
I had previously seen somebody and was put on medication for, I believe it's called obsessive something disorder. Not really sure of the name, but
Obsessive compulsive behavior?
maybe that was the name of it. But I got that. They told me about that right around the time I was telling you when Alan was about to leave to go to school. Well, right after I think he had left to go to school. So maybe when he was about 5-ish.
Okay.
And they told me to, get some help and see someone, but I didn't follow through with the treatment. So now I'm back. I'm back here with you.
Okay. But, I think, did you mention that you had gone through, well, let me ask this question, just open-ended. You mentioned that someone diagnosed you with obsessive behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned that. Where did you go?
So at first,
and when?
It was my general practitioner, my normal doctor.
Okay.
I was telling him about some of the repeated behaviors, with the light switch, and he referred me to a psychiatrist at the behavioral hospital. It was outpatient, so I was just seeing her once every 2 weeks. But then I got busy with life, my finances got tough, and I just stopped. I stopped going. So I'm feeling like things have gotten a little worse, and the obsessive behaviors are getting stronger. So I just decided to try again, and hopefully this time I'll be able to stick to it.
Okay, all right, so you said they're getting stronger. How long have they been getting stronger?
Oh gosh, I would say in these last 2 years, our finances it seems like everything is getting more expensive, and my husband's disability seems like it got less, and our finances are just really, really tight right now, and they have been really tight for these past 2 years, but we're making it. We're scraping by.
Okay, good. So going back to your psychiatric history, during that moment in time in which you were seeing the other practitioner, did you have a history of violent behavior or suicidal ideations?
No. I also only saw her for a few sessions. I would say 4 at the most.
Do you recall her name?
Dr. Wilbur.
And her practice is here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think she's at the behavioral hospital down the street.
Okay, alright. And what type of medicine? I think you mentioned that she had you on some type of medication?
I don't recall the name of it. If I remember, I think I still have the bottle at home. I'll bring it next session.
Okay. Are you still currently taking the medication?
No, I stopped taking the medication as well. I just didn't know if it would still work because I wasn't going to her. And after I stopped going for a while, I think she stopped sending prescriptions. So, yeah.
When did you stop? How long has it been?
It's been at least, I would say, about 8 months.
8 months. All right. And of course, I have some other questions, as I mentioned, just to make sure that we get you a good treatment plan. Any history of substance abuse or alcohol or drugs?
No.
Medical history, have you had any surgeries, hospitalization?
No.
Hospitalizations?
No.
Any current medical problems?
I have high blood pressure from my anxiety.
Is that, was that part of, so you say you have high blood pressure as a result of your anxiety?
Yes.
Okay.
I had never previously had high blood pressure, and my general practitioner can't find a medical reason for my high blood pressure. It doesn't run in my family. He says I'm not predisposed to it, so the fact that I have anxiety, he thinks that's most likely what it's from.
Okay. Any allergies?
No.
Any current medication?
No.
Do you smoke, drink caffeine, alcohol, or any illicit drugs?
No. I forgot to say I do take blood pressure medication. But no, I do not use any substances.
And as I mentioned, some of these questions may be a little uncomfortable, but just kind of bear with me, okay? Can you talk to me about your sexual history, your sexual orientation?
Yeah, I identify as heterosexual.
And number of pregnancy, I know you have Alan and Karen?
Yes, Katie. Mm-hmm.
Katie,
Mm-hmm.
my apologies. Any other births
No.
or pregnancies? Just two.
I did have a miscarriage before Katie, so that would have been my first child.
Current level of sexual activity?
I have not had any interest in that, especially with everything with my husband and, just the stress. I just really haven't been interested in the bedroom.
History of any head trauma?
No.
Okay. Let's kind of take a walk in the park with your family history,
Okay.
if we can. So talk to me about your family. Where were you born, raised? I know you talked about your parents were two doctors, so there was some pressure there, but where were you born and raised?
I was born in New York.
Okay. What part?
Brooklyn.
Brooklyn, okay.
Um,
LL Cool J.
Yeah.
Oh, he's Queens.
Yeah,
He's Queens,
yeah.
right? Yeah, okay. And you were raised by both parents?
Yes,
Okay.
I was raised by both parents.
Okay.
I would say that they were there, but they weren't there because they worked a lot. So, as doctors, they would have really long days and sometimes really late nights. And by the time I went to sleep, they would be coming home. So there would be days I wouldn't see them at all, but they were there.
How did that make you feel?
I kind of had to, I guess, grow up fast and start doing a lot for myself because there wasn't really anybody else I could rely on. And I've never really thought about it, but that could be where my anxiety may have started, just feeling like I have to take care of myself too, and take care of going to school and stuff.
Okay. So what I'm hearing you saying that, well beyond your 20s, your anxiety may have started as a matter of, as potentially as a result of your parents not being there and you having to grow up fast and not being able to rely on anyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a lot of, I would have to do stuff because I knew my parents weren't going to be coming home sometimes it would be a couple days if they had back-to-back shifts at the hospital they were working at. So I would have, kind of anxiety about, okay, did you turn the stove off? Did you, because I was having to prepare my own meals, make my own lunches and stuff. So did you turn the lights off? Did you lock the door? And those things now are things that I'm not able to just do freely and just walk away. Like if I close the door now, I go back and check the door 4 or 5 times. If I turn the lights off, I go back and check 6 or 7 times. And I wasn't doing that when I was a child, but now those things are like, don't forget to do this, don't forget.
How old were you at that point?
I probably started staying home by myself when I was 7.
7 years old, okay. Did anyone come to the house to keep you or watch over you?
Not really. Sometimes family members would drop in when they knew, like my parents were going to be gone for a while. They would bring me food, stuff like that. But
Okay.
my parents really just relied on me to be a strong woman and to handle it and, do what I needed to do. My parents also were immigrants, so they have a really strong work ethic. They are very, everything they have, they created for themselves. And they also taught me that same strong work ethic.
Okay. Good information. Let's see here. How was, I'm asking you to kind of go deep with this one, okay? Really think about it. Your mom's pregnancy. As far as you say you're the only child. Do you recall your mom ever talking about her pregnancy with you? Was it an easy pregnancy, a hard pregnancy, some challenges, some medical problems?
She never really talks about it, so
Okay.
I think everything went pretty normal.
Okay.
I don't really think they expected to have me. I would say I was probably unexpected, just for where they both were at in their life and even how they, I guess, reacted after I was born. My mom and dad were just, well, what I was told was that they were really in a hurry to get back to work. And so I had other family members who kind of stepped in and watched me as a baby. But then it was like about 7 or 8 years old, I was just expected to fend for myself.
Okay. How did that make you feel, knowing that or hearing that you were an unexpected child?
It's kind of saddening. And sometimes I feel like maybe they would have been nicer to me if they had actually wanted me. It makes me feel like I was not wanted because they were not planning to have me. So I kind of ruined things for them.
What's your current relationship? Do you have any other? I know you said you're a single child. Do you know if there was only one birth with your mom?
She doesn't talk about anything else, so I'm not sure.
Okay. What's your current relationship with your parents and even some other family members?
So with my parents right now, we're not really in the best place. Not that anything has happened. I've been very stressed out, and I've been dealing with these behaviors, and my parents are very critical, so I can't really talk to them openly about what I'm going through. I can't even tell them about what my husband is going through. My parents still do not know that he's on disability, that he's not working. I feel like they would criticize me for that and have a lot to say about it, so I've decided just not to tell them, and I've really just been trying to keep my distance because I don't want them to see me doing these behaviors. I know they would ask me if I'm okay, what's wrong, what's wrong with me, why am I doing that?
How do you feel about your husband not working?
I don't necessarily. It's a lot. I'm not sure how I feel. I should say that. I, of course, know that it's not something that he can necessarily control, but I also wish there was more ways for him to support me, because like I said, I do feel like I'm doing it all alone. And I know he's not able to work, but he could still help me with the kids around the house, in some way. I just need some help.
Okay. Do you have friends?
I do.
That could help support?
I do have friends that could help support. Lately I've really isolated myself because of these behaviors that I'm pretty embarrassed about. And because I always do them, it's like I don't want to do them around the people that I care about or, know me, because I know they would probably think that that's out of the ordinary for me.
As far as your childhood, how was it? I know you talked about feeling the pressure from your parents, being by yourself, having to support yourself. Talk to me about emotions that you feel because of all that?
Well, like I said, I first had to deal with the feeling of kind of being unwanted and feeling unwanted. And I would say that's something that I felt through a majority of my childhood. With being an unexpected pregnancy and with, my parents just still going on with work like I didn't really exist, it was hard for me. Like I said, I played sports, I was involved in things, but my parents were never there. They never came to any of my volleyball matches, none of that. So I kind of feel like I was raised in a family that didn't really want me, but I was able to create my own family, so I was proud of that.
Okay, very good. As far as your family history, do they have any psychiatric history or?
My parents don't necessarily talk about mental health, so I don't really know. That's why I'm kind of scared to tell them that I've been dealing with these issues. It's not really something they understand or talk about much. So,
any substance abuse in the family history?
No, not that I know about.
Okay. Any family suicidal or violent behavior or anything of that nature?
Not that I can recall. No.
Okay. Any legal history with your family or with you?
No.
Okay.
My husband, it wasn't with me, but my husband had some legal stuff for his disability, trying to get all the paperwork and everything for that.
Okay, all right. And how long have you been married?
20 years.
20 years. And what's your husband's name? I may have negated that
Eric.
question. Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. And you've had 3 births, of which 2 successful pregnancies.
Yes.
Right, okay. Right. Hobbies. What do you like to do?
I really enjoy cooking.
Okay.
That's probably why I'm at the grocery store so often.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I like gardening with the kids. And my husband and I used to like to go to the movies a lot, but I just haven't really had much interest in extracurricular stuff lately.
All right. Your religion?
I'm a Christian.
Christian. And let's just kind of talk about your background as far as education. What's the highest level of education do you have?
I have a master's degree.
Master's. And your husband?
He is, before his disability, he was a contractor.
Okay. Did he finish high school and some college?
Yes.
Okay.
He finished high school. Don't believe he went to, he went to a trade school, I believe.
Okay. Did he complete that?
Yes.
All right. During the point that you were in school, I know you mentioned that there was a lot of pressure to keep your grades up, and you had some situations, and I think you said you almost urinated on yourself because you may have gotten a B. Have you had to repeat any classes because of bad grades?
No, I've never had to repeat any classes. I usually always got A's and B's.
Okay.
I would try not to get B's, but I don't think I ever got any grades that were lower than that.
Okay, all right. Any issues in school related to any learning or psychiatric problems?
No.
No? Okay. Any suspension?
No.
Or expulsions? Okay. Let's kind of talk about your work history. Where are you currently employed?
So currently I work at a library.
Okay. And your occupation?
I'm a librarian.
Can't have enough of those. How long have you been working there?
I would say I've been there for a good while, at least the past 15 years.
15 years. Okay. What was the job that you had before this one, and why did you leave that one?
Before this one, I was not working.
Okay.
I was not working, but as my husband was put on disability, I had to pick up more hours as a librarian, because at first it was just something that I did, Just maybe once a week when the kids were at, school, it really was giving me something to distract me from constantly thinking about the kids' safety while they were, at school. But when he was put on disability, I had to pick up more hours, and now I'm full-time as a librarian.
And you've been with the job 15 years. Is that the longest it's being a librarian? Is this your first job as an adult? Okay, all right. So 15 years is the longest that you've been on the job.
Yeah.
Any military history?
No.
Now, some of the questions that I will be asking again, I just have to keep reiterating this one, just kind of remind you that they may feel a little uncomfortable, but these are the things that, we do need to have some understanding to build out a full treatment plan. Growing up or even now, did you feel that you didn't have enough to eat? Did you have clean clothes?
Yeah, I had enough to eat and clean clothes.
Okay. Have you been divorced? Have your parents been divorced or any deaths? I mean, these are your original parents, but you
Yeah.
right? Okay.
And no, they're still together.
Okay. And I think you mentioned that they didn't have any mental health issues or anything with
No, not that they disclosed to me.
Did you live with anyone who had problems with drinking or using drugs?
No.
Prescription? Okay. And I think you mentioned that you didn't encounter any physical abuse or anything like that?
No.
Okay. Did anyone who you lived with go to jail?
No.
Did anyone in your house swear at you, insult you, or put you down?
They did. They put me down quite a bit. I don't know if it was always intentional, but yeah, they put me down.
Physically abused?
No.
Did you feel that no one in your family loved you or thought you were special?
Sometimes I did feel like that, yeah.
That they didn't love you?
Yeah.
Okay. What about feeling special?
I don't think I was special, no.
Did you experience any unwanted sexual contact, throughout your childhood or even in adulthood?
No.
And I think you mentioned that you yourself don't have any legal history that's pending.
No.
At your time, okay? But your husband, he has some legal
Yeah,
issues
with
or
his disability.
and things like that. Okay, what is your current living arrangement? You and your husband?
Yeah, we live in a house.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just us and our kids.
And you're married.
Yes.
And where do you live?
We live about 5 minutes around the corner, in Marietta.
And you say you're about 30, I think you said 44?
47, I think.
47, okay. And if you don't mind, sometimes you just can't tell by the appearance, what's your ethnicity?
Oh, I identify as Hispanic.
Hispanic. Okay. Just got a couple more that we need to go through.
Okay.
As far as your financial situation, I know your husband's on disability at this particular point in time. Do you think that you have enough funds to make your ends meet?
So far, yeah, we are making.
We're almost to the finish line. Just want to kind of do some orientation here. What's today?
Today is Monday.
What date?
The 15th. October.
October? What year?
2023.
2023. Okay, where are you now at this point in time?
I'm at the clinic, the behavior clinic.
Who is the vice president?
Kamala Harris.
So just kind of thinking through some of your strengths. What do you say you bring to the table as far as some of your strengths? as a person?
I think I'm funny,
Okay.
and I'm smart, and I'm a problem solver.
And how do you feel in this moment?
I'm excited for, a change.
So So thank you for bearing with me as I kind
Of
of
course.
do a lot of that information. So let's just kind of go back to talk about what you hope to get out of this session.
I just really want to be able to regain my normal life, not have these behaviors get in the way of my everyday thinking and feelings. I want to be able to do fun stuff again with my husband and my kids, and to just overall be happier.
Talk to me about when you say regain normal life. What does that look like?
So to be able to flip the switch off and walk away, to just pick up things in the grocery store and check out, and not repeat behaviors.
All right, we've talked a lot. We've said a lot. Thank you so much for being so open and sharing.
Of course.
What questions do you have for me?
I don't have any.
Okay. All right. So all this information that I've gathered, as I mentioned earlier, it will help, as we have more and more conversations, and we can take a lot of deep dives. You'll find that would happen in these sessions. Sometimes it may feel a little uncomfortable, but that's a good thing. I just want to set some expectations. Yeah. So, if you're not feeling happy all the time in these sessions, it's okay.
Okay.
Because we're gonna work through these things together, so we can have, we can hope for a better outcome.
Yeah.
For where you are today.
Okay. Thank you so much.
If you have no questions, then that ends the session. I hope that I will see you next week at the same time.
Thank you. I'll see you next week.
All right. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Good to meet you. 1 minute.